Hello, Gaston County. Welcome to episode number 66 of Gaston's Great, a podcast highlighting some of the great things happening in and around Gaston County. I'm your host, Stephen Long, and we're coming to you once again from the worldwide headquarters of GSM Services as we continue to look forward to some great discussions in the coming weeks and months. We seem to believe in discussing more of the reasons why Gaston's great. We are highlighting another great organization this week and have Joe Bell and Diane Monico with us today. Joe is the executive director of the Gaston Hope in Christ Ministries. I'm sure I get that right. And Diane is a tutor and administrative assistant with the organization. So Joe and Diane, it's great to have you on, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for inviting us.
Absolutely. So we're going to get right to it like we normally do, and maybe I'll start with you, Diane. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of your role with the organization, and then we'll, Joe, go to you after that just to give us any background you'd like to share.
I'm Diane Monico, and my job is I do tutoring
Okay.
with the kids, and I help them with their reading, math, whatever needs to be done. And I also, on Wednesdays, I cook for them, so they're well fed.
I'm sure. All right.
I'm an office administrator, too. I help him doing the office with all the tutoring stuff that has to be taken care of.
Okay. Very good. So, Joe, kind of maybe go even a little deeper. I probably should ask this question first. Kind of tell probably some listeners out here who don't know much about the organization, okay?
Well, that's probably our problem.
Yeah, I'll probably. Well, you know what? I don't know. I know a little bit of it, what I saw online and the little research. So, kind of tell us just about yourself, the organization, your role, and then what is it specifically is the mission and what the organization is doing here for our local community.
Well, I pastor Eastside Church of the Nazarene on Redbud, and I've done that since June of 1997.
Okay, so it's been a few years.
I was working for the YMCA then as well. And then when I left the Y, I had parents from our church come up and say, hey, our kids need homework help. And so we started just helping our kids. I had worked for the Y for 8.5 years, so I knew some people in the county schools. And when our kids were learning and growing and getting better, I contacted Steve Britton, who was at Gardner Park at the time, and we set up having some of their kids come over. And that was January of 2000.
Okay.
And so we started our 23rd year of tutoring 2 weeks ago. Hope in Christ was originally part of a 2-state push to try to do compassionate ministry and help other people. And we were actually not one of the ones supposed to do the work in Gaston County. We had 2 other churches that we were just going to help. But over time, Hope in Christ has become centered at Eastside. And we've had lots of people help us from all over 4 counties. We had a homeschool group from Shelby that helped us for about 7 years.
Okay.
We had a group of Forest View students that did our Thursday tutoring for about 6 years. It's just getting volunteers who will work with the kids. We provide reading help for them. Every kid reads every day. We help them learn their multiplication facts, and then we work on their schoolwork they need for the day. So that's what we do. Our mission is building relationships to enrich lives. And after 2 decades of tutoring, we had a lot of Hispanic folks. And in fact, some of our directors now were part of our kids who were tutored. And we started doing ESL classes. And we started our 2nd year of ESL classes last week. So it's kind of grown, and we're thankful. And we're just trying to do things to help people.
Okay, so I know most people probabyou know that, but ESL is like English as a second language,
right,
correct?
Right, yes.
So, all right, so that's interesting. So how did you kind of shared it, but how did this come about? How did you get involved specifically? I don't think I knew, until my little bit of research that it was focused on kids and basically tutoring and, How many? So let me ask some more specific questions. How many kids are you typically dealing with? Is this daily? Is this weekly?
We do 3 days a week.
Okay.
We do from when they get there from school until 6 p.m. And we do that the days that there's a whole school day. So yesterday there was a half day.
Right.
We didn't do anything yesterday.
Okay.
And so we do from the 1st of October, that's after all the beginning of year testing has happened. And we do that until right up to the end of year testing, because obviously they have no work to do then.
Sure.
And we've just been trying to help kids. And over the years, we've got great relationships with schools and teachers, and we've even got some teachers on our board of directors. And we try to do things to help them do their job, because you and I know the teachers have a rough job.
Sure.
And so anything we can do to help. We've got a lot of single-parent families. We've got families that are not native to this area, so they have trouble helping their kids with their homework. And all the things we can do to just help the kids along is what we try to do. And I think we succeed, right?
We do. Some of the kids you can build a real close relationship with. But they'll talk to you about things going on at home that they wouldn't talk to their parents about.
Right. Well, I mean, that's always the case, isn't it? I mean, not always.
Kids need somebody besides their parents who cares about them.
Sure.
And who's a good voice for them.
Because
they've got enough bad voices.
And who shows them love.
Yeah. So maybe, so where are these kids, for the most part, where are they coming from?
Well, for years, Gardner Park was our main feeder school.
Sure. And that's not far physically from where you are.
No, and they're on the bus route. So they would drop them off from the bus.
Okay.
And then we've got Holbrook kids in the same way. But when COVID hit, all of a sudden we've got kids from Sadler, we've got kids from McAdenville, and we've got kids from Kramer. In fact, Southwest, we've had kids for 3 years in a row, and all the way to the eastern side to Kramer Middle and Lowell, we've had kids that are in. So it's anywhere the parents bring. And so if a parent needs help from anywhere and they're willing to drive the kid in the afternoon and pick them up, then we'll take them. And we don't charge a fee. We take donations, but we don't charge the kids anything, because that's not helping these families. And so we get enough money to pay our bills, and we provide the service. And we're fortunate, a lot of years we have restaurants that come along and say, I'll help you once a month or once a quarter. And they provide some of that food we need, because on Wednesdays we serve a meal to the kids.
Okay, so what days of the week is it?
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm
Tuesday.
sorry, I thought that and I didn't.
Well, you said 3 days, but I don't think I heard.
Yeah, if you go 5 days, parents consider it childcare, and I left the Y for that reason.
Absolutely, and that would be. I mean, that makes sense. The 3 middle days of the week. Yeah, I'm sure for some kids, Friday afternoons would be off limits. For something else going on, right, on Friday afternoons. Is this just your typical standard subjects, all subjects? I mean, kind of maybe describe the day in life. This may be just a typical day that you're dealing with. And maybe that's a question for you, Diane.
You ask them, you got homework, and they're say no. And I said, let's get a book and we'll go read.
Okay.
And we read for 15 minutes per child every day.
And then they read on their own.
And then they read on their own after that.
Okay.
Then you go over their homework, if they got it, and you look at it. And then you say, let's do your multiplications. Let's do the 9s today. And then you write them out. I'll give you 10 minutes, 20 minutes to study them. Then I'm going to quiz you on them. And then we mark it on their book that they did them. And they get points for that.
Yeah, we use an app called Class Dojo that the teachers introduced us to.
Okay.
And so the kids get points. And if the kids do something good or do something bad and the parents have their dojo app, they see what's going on. And we have gotten phone calls. What's up with Billy today? And Billy's like, oh, man. But the more we communicate with the teachers and the more we communicate with the families, the better it supports the kid, because they know they can't play one against another. And she talked about asking them about homework. Well, praise God, we've got computers now. So every child in Gaston County has a Chromebook, and they have a school account. Whether it's the elementary program or the middle school program, they can pull up their record, and we can see if they didn't turn something in or if they got less than they should on something, and we can help them with that. So that's a pretty good thing, and it's good to not have to Sometimes kids tell you they don't have work when they do. You know
You're
that?
kidding.
They will.
Amazing.
They will tell you that.
Yeah.
Because they
My
won't lay
kids,
there
my
and
kids
go,
never said that.
but they won't lay there and go to sleep. I say, no, you got homework. You got to do your homework. But I don't want to. Well, that's what you're here for. We got to do our homework. Then you can go on their laptop computers and you can check and see if they got homework.
It's possible when I was a elementary or middle school, I may have tried to skip some homework every now and then, but that was back a few years ago.
It's really amazing that there are kids who come in and all they need is somebody to sit with them while they do their homework.
Yeah.
And then there are kids who come in and they're 2 years behind, 3 years behind on this subject. Our tutoring director is John Matzik. John lives in Bessemer City, and he's got 40-plus years experience teaching, and he's a math guru. I mean, he can. We had one kid came in second semester last year, and he and John worked for 30 minutes or an hour on his math every day. But in 4 weeks, the kid was caught up and knew what was going on and went on and had a great rest of the year. It's just we try to help them where they are, and it's amazing what can happen to the kids. We have students who were in our program who have been on our board of directors now. We have a student who was in our program who's our ESL director now. We've got students who are nurses who are going for their medical degree. And some of the tutors who have been through our program are just as high achieving and committed to the world as anybody. And you get to see them grow and develop, and you go, well, we were just a little part of that.
Yeah, so they probably have a good perspective of what these kids that they're helping are dealing with.
Oh, well, number one, the favorite tutors are always the teenagers. Because if you're a kid, it's a middle schooler. If you're a middle schooler, it's a high schooler. And when we've got 2 and about to have 3 high school students who help us tutor, and they're the favorites because the kids just look up to them.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. So, are there any, you probably already shared this, but I'm going to ask it anyway, any initiatives, or how would you describe initiatives or programs, or is it just the kid shows up, you assess the need, and then you implement a plan? Is that
Hope in Christ Tutoring is our big program.
Okay.
That's the one that's gone 2 decades, and that's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, October till the end of May.
Okay.
And then we have the ESL classes. They last 6 weeks at a time. So somebody comes in and they can do one session, but then they get a new job or something happens. It's not a lost time.
Gotcha.
And we've had people in our ESL classes that changed jobs and came back, and Jesus works with them great with that. And then we have a summer mentoring program for teenagers. And over the last 2 years, we've had a group of teens that have met over 20 of our community leaders, the mayor, Brandon Bellamy, teachers and principals, police officers, Chief Britton, just some of the great leaders in our community. And they've gone out every week to do 1 or 2 service projects. And in the meantime, we talk to them about character development and train them in leadership and teamwork. And so I think the kids who come out of our mentoring program are as well prepared as anybody to go into college and the things they face. And that's pretty much the 3 things we're doing right now.
So it's a little more than just tutoring an elementary school child and whatever subject they might be struggling with.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, I appreciate you sharing that. And this is a question I like, and this is for both of you. I mean, looking back, your time with the organization, can you, without sharing any specific names, obviously, can you look back at some success stories, or maybe something that, we've already kind of shared some general examples of where kids have come back and are helping or on the board or whatever, but maybe a success story or two of your time with the organization?
Well, over the last 6 years, I've seen some kids, they went from failing to straight A's, and then went on to college and achieved real good jobs. And that makes you proud.
Sure.
That you had just a small part in that.
Okay. Joe, what about you? Anything specific you can think of?
There's
or specific
one person, and I'll try not to do details. I just said it's a she. Started off 2 years behind in a subject.
Okay.
In 3rd grade. just a lack of confidence. Had a very caring family, some good support there. We worked with them about the things they were facing, and they went on to get better in elementary school. They went on to become top quarter of the class in middle school. They went on to be with the overachievers in high school, and went on to have a family and get married and have a baby, and have gone through a great career path and are doing something every single day to help people in Gaston County. And you look at that and you just go, wow. Now, their family helped.
Oh, sure. Sure.
They got a faith commitment, and I believe that really helped. But they got support. We're not going to be, I've got one of our board members does professional tutoring outside her school hours.
Okay.
We're not teachers doing professional tutoring. We're people coming along the kids and helping them to do the work they need to do. And if they learn how to do the work and they learn how to put in the effort, it makes a difference in their world.
Diane, kind of switching back to you, I mean, can you think back, what are you most proud of accomplishing or seeing accomplished, or have you kind of already shared that?
Most proud is the fact that, the kids are actually accomplishing something, that
Right.
they're learning, and that they're not struggling no more, and that we have a part of helping them where they can achieve their goals in life.
So I'm sure it's nice to see that over time. You're able to see that progress, aren't you?
Yes.
I know sometimes we get involved in community things and you might not see the end result, right?
Well, I'm a pastor. That's the nature of being a pastor.
Yeah,
you do these things and you don't know, somebody sits in the pew and they participate in what goes on, and you're not sure how much of it took.
Sure. Right.
But if a kid can't read and then they can.
Yeah.
If a kid can't add and then they know their tables, those are huge changes. And it's like I tell the people Diane said they don't always want to do their work. If I can get a third grader to know their multiplication, it saves them literally years by the time they get out of high school, not doing finger counting
Sure.
and not having to write. They know something and then they can use it.
Yeah. And when I was that age, unfortunately, math and reading is kind of important. You might not think of it when you're that age, or you don't want to believe it is important, but it's definitely important, as you move along in life. So, looking ahead for the organization, I mean, are there any big plans? I think we typically ask, 5-10 years down the road. Doesn't have to be that long, but what do you see the organization looking like, or evolving into? Or
Well, one of the biggest things that happened is Diane. As she said, she's been one of our tutors, but we got a grant, and now she's providing administrative support.
Okay.
I've never had one of those. I mean, you've got a lot of wonderful people here at GSM, but I've never had somebody providing that detail work.
Right.
And I'm kind of ADD, so somebody doing details really helps me.
So she keeps you out of trouble? Is that what you're saying?
No, although there was the license plate thing yesterday. But
His license plate was expired for over a year.
Oh.
Well, you don't have to go into details, he said.
Now it's on live. Now it's
But
out
I mean,
there.
I help him with his appointments. Like he may have a board meeting appointment or something,
Got
or
you.
meet with somebody, and I say, Joe, you remember your appointment at 11:30, or
She really does details well.
Okay,
And
well,
so
good.
that's a developing. Further than that, we want to get a little bit more stable financial support because we've always kind of lived hand to mouth, and we've gotten a couple of years of some grants, and we've got 3 churches now that are supporting us, and individuals. One of our goals this year is to get 50 people who would give $10 a month.
Okay.
Just a basic. And then as we go forward, I would love to see somebody in Cherryville do this.
Gotcha.
I would love to see somebody in Belmont do this. We don't have a copyright on it. I've shared what we do with over 20 organizations to help them get started. We want kids to get help.
Sure.
And we love Gaston County. And as hard as the teachers are working and as much as the people in the schools are trying, they need assistance.
Yeah.
And so we want to provide that and help others to do that.
Yeah, I imagine. I mean, I'm not a teacher, and I sure, all three of our children, we still have one at Forest View, but all the other two have graduated from Gaston County Public Schools, so we've had a good experience there, but also know that you got a classroom of 25 to 30 children. They're all at different, they learn differently, they're at different levels, so that teacher trying to, get all of them at the same spot is just, it seems impossible. So organizations like you, is there another group or anybody doing this type of work here in the area?
There are people doing bits and pieces. Of course, Roxanne Jemison and the Dream Center, we actually have kids from our church in that program. Okay. They are at the other end. Talking to Dickie, City Church is one of our partners. Okay. But talking to him, Roxanne's looking for kids who have real capability, who are kind of, they just need a push to get great. We've got the kids who kind of are struggling to just keep up. Understood. And so it's a different place, but I think both are needed.
Oh, sure.
We've got to help people who can achieve, and at the same time, everybody needs to have the tools to succeed in some way. So I think we're kind of at different places. When we started, Redeemer Lutheran down the road from us was doing a program for kindergarten through second graders. That's part of the reason we started at third grade. And they don't do that. Of course, there's a lot of good after-school programs. There's the Y, there's the Boys and Girls Club. There's all these daycares who do a little help. But we're not there to provide child care. The kids come in, they have 3 sessions that they have to work for 30, 45 minutes. And so they're doing their schoolwork. We do some games. We give them a snack, things like that. But they're there to do tutoring.
Okay. So, you kind of already, this question is for both of you as well, but you kind of already shared, or maybe I'll start with you on this one, Diane. This is a podcast, it's a podcast about Gaston County. And you shared a few reasons already, but why would you say Gaston County specifically is better, because your organization is here and the work that you guys are doing?
I think because it helps the kids. There's a lot of kids that come in that when you first get them, they can't read at all.
Right.
They'll struggle to what the word is. And they need that one-on-one help. And it helps the kids, and they achieve a lot by going through this program.
Right.
It helps their grades, it helps the teachers, and it helps the parents.
Probably helps their self-esteem a little bit as well.
Yeah.
That's part of what we do. We're not giving kids intelligence. They have what they have.
Yeah.
But a kid who doesn't have confidence in their ability, a kid who's thinking that school's just bad because they're always bad at it, getting them to the place. I remember the light turning on for one kid when he got an A. He came in, he said, I got a 91. And I said, and you could have done that before, but I never have. And when they get that opportunity and they can succeed, right. I mean, I'm sure you see that with the people you work with.
Oh, sure.
They don't think they can do something, and when they can, it just opens the world up.
Yeah, a little self-confidence goes a long way. And a little success, some small successes can lead to just greater success down the road. And that belief, just having a little belief in yourself. Sometimes people don't see that in themselves, for sure, and especially youth.
I was at Holbrook this week. We were at the staff meeting to talk to the teachers about what we do. They were just so grateful because teachers understand that they can't do everything in 7 hours.
Absolutely.
And when somebody comes along and helps them, I mean, so we're helping the students, we're helping their families, we're helping the school to grow because they're teaching the kids, but we're letting the teachers know we care about what they want. We send notes out to them asking them for any input they have, telling them we care about them, we're thankful for them. And teachers need that. If you've got a teacher you like, go ahead and send them a card. If it was your second grade teacher and you're 42 and they're still around, get in touch with them. Because that encouragement is just helpful.
Sure. So how do you hear? How do the kids hear about your program? Is it through teachers? Is it through the schools? Is it through
Not well enough.
Social media? I mean, how would somebody? hopefully some people are going to hear about it through this, obviously. But so how does that occur typically?
Well, we used to get a lot better press from the paper than we do these days. We've gotten a couple of really good articles, but we put stuff out on social media.
Okay.
At the start of the year, we used a Facebook push, and we get stuff out to the schools that are in our area. But more than that, we try to expand at least 1 or 2 schools a year to say, hey, we're available for you. I think this is our 3rd year. We've got Sherwood kids.
Okay.
And so as we build those relationships, then the teachers know, hey, my kid's got a problem. Maybe Hope in Christ is part of their answer. Now, the thing is, if you're not in our service area, if you're not Holbrook or Gardner Park, you've got to get the kids there. And so that makes it a little harder. But we've got word going out. We've got some kids that their cousins and their cousins before them were in the program, and they said, oh, well, I knew somebody who was here. And so that helps. But obviously the communication is something we're still struggling.
Are you guys at capacity now, or can you? Okay.
No, this is the first. What happens is we start off the first of the year, and we have just returning kids.
Okay.
So we had 6, 7. Well, this is teacher conference week. So Billy's mom finds out that Billy's not making all A's. And she goes, I need help.
Gotcha.
And so we've already got, since overnight, the conferences were last night, we've got 2 more registrations. Capacity is about 20 with current tutors.
Okay.
For every tutor we have, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we can take 4 kids. We have the space. It's just a matter of getting volunteers who can help us.
Okay.
And we're always looking for tutors. We're always looking for the right people who can care for kids. And if you do that, then that allows us to have more kids in the program.
Okay, very good. So are there anything I haven't asked that I should have asked, anything you'd like to share that we haven't talked about? I mean, before we finish, we'll make sure, all our listeners know how to get in touch with the organization, where to find more information about it. But just want to kind of wrap, before we move on to these other few questions we like to get into about Gaston County. Anything you'd like to share or something I should have asked?
Well, of course, like a lot of nonprofits, we always take donations.
Absolutely.
We're looking for partners, as I mentioned, that could help us a little each month. But I think there are teenagers and older adults, maybe people who work part-time or shift work, that could give 1 or more days a month and spend 2 hours, like Diane said, read one-on-one with a kid, help a kid with their multiplication problems. We've got staff there who can do the heavy lifting. You're not going to be put in a group of 10 kids to play a game. But just to give 2 hours of your day to help kids. And if we could have people do that 1 or more days a month, I don't think it would just help the kids. You started out as a volunteer. It helped you, didn't it?
Yeah.
And it makes a difference to the people who do it. And we had 1 year, we had 3 kids getting out of Chapel Hill who had been our tutors. And that's part of what they did to get into school, because, you got a program like that on your resume, it helps your application, right?
Sure.
But we've had older adults who did a great job for 4 or 5 years because they had done what they wanted, and then they helped kids. So I think that's a place that people could really work.
Okay. Well, very good. We'll appreciate it. Hopefully there, it's not just parents with kids that might benefit. Hopefully there's some volunteers out there that are going to hear this, and maybe that will help you guys out. So we're going to shift gears real quick. We have these Gaston County questions that we like to ask.
Oh yeah, these are fun.
Each episode, because we can, and we come up with a different name for it every week. And I'm drawing a blank, Naomi. You got a name for it this week? I just put Naomi on the spot, who is off camera on purpose. So these are going to be the. Naomi doesn't have a name speed round of questions this week, okay? All right, so Diane, we're going to start with you. What is your favorite Tony's ice cream flavor?
I think chocolate.
Chocolate? I'm with you on that one. That's mine as well. Joe?
Yep, chocolate.
All right, so that's the correct answer, by the way. We'll stick with you, Joe. Sundrop or Cheerwine?
I think Cheerwine.
Okay.
But I'm
Diane?
a Diet
Sun
Coke guy, to
Drop.
be honest.
So y'all are going to fight over Sun Drop and Cheerwine on that one?
I do Sun Drop.
Diane, what about you? Have a favorite local restaurant?
Golden Corral.
Golden Corral. All right. Joe?
There are lots of restaurants I'd like to try, but I haven't. The thing our family enjoys is a little quieter, like weeknight at Texas Roadhouse.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not as crazy.
Yeah.
We really love their salads, and their steaks are good. They're good people.
Very good. Joe, how about favorite outdoor activity in Gaston County or favorite park or something you like to do?
I'm
when
not
you're
always outdoors, but we've taken trips to Crowder's Mountain a few times.
Yeah, Crowder's is great.
And one time my boy was 3.5 and he walked all the way up. That's one of my favorite memories.
Yeah, especially if you're a small boy, that's some serious steps getting up there. Diane, what about you? Something
I
you
think the Lindbergh Park, because the kids, I took my grandbabies there,
Okay.
and they got to go on the train and ride that
Oh,
train
yeah,
around.
back on
They
the
loved
train.
that. They didn't want to get off and come home.
Yeah, the train was fun. I mean, that was a big thing when I was younger. It was different. It was a different route back then in the dark ages back when I was little. But
Horse-drawn trains? Or?
yeah, no. Yeah, well, maybe it was that long ago. So this is again the question that I ask just because I can every week, and I'll maybe stick with you on this one, Diane. And UNC, Duke, or NC State?
Neither one.
She just got you a good sound effect on that one. That is not a correct answer. We'll go to Joe. And we'll come back to you after he says the correct answer.
Oh, that could be interesting. I didn't do my research on that one. Okay, first of all, it's Alabama.
I think I've seen that from you on social media.
Second, for basketball, I like all the Blues. We went to school in Missouri, so Kansas. Kentucky's an SEC school. Duke and Carolina are both great. Duke's my favorite basketball team, but I've got a lot of friends in Raleigh, so I follow State just because of my friends.
So that might have been the most politically correct answer I have ever heard to that one.
But there's a big game coming tomorrow in Knoxville.
Yes, there is, and we have a couple Tennessee fans here at the office here. So.
Oh, well, bring them towels for Monday.
Okay, we will. Wow. All right, so Diane, come back to you for this question. What is something very few people know about you?
I've got 19 grandchildren.
19.
19. And I've
Good
got
gracious.
next week, end of this year, I will have 14 great-grandchildren.
All right. That's the first for the answer to that question. We have never had anybody say 19 grandchildren and 14
And she
great-grandchildren.
does a really good job of keeping in touch with her family.
Wow.
I mean, I talk to my kids every day. And
Good for
my
you.
oldest grandson
It's amazing
calls
they had
me.
that many grandkids talking to her every day.
My oldest grandson calls me every day. Anything goes on in his life, I'm the first to know.
Well, good for him and good for you. Wow. You want to follow that one, Joe?
My problem is I'm an open book. I share who I am. I am thankful for where I am. We planned to be here for 2 weeks when we came, and that was in '94. But this is a place I'm thankful for, and I've got great family and great friends and good church family, but
Okay.
I tell everybody everything, so there's not really any secrets.
So that's the second politically correct answer by Joe there. He doesn't want to share anything. So how about, is a recent, Joe, a recent book or blog or article or anything that you follow that you might share with our listeners?
Oh, I'm going to get the name right. Bolsinger, who wrote Canoeing the Mountains,
Okay.
has a new book on, and like I said, I'm going to get the name wrong. The book's about living through pressure, and I can see it because I know where it is on my nightstand. But it's something I'm really
What's the
going through.
author's name again? Because our listeners
Todd Bolsinger.
Bolsinger.
He wrote Canoeing the Mountains. If you
Okay.
haven't read Canoeing the Mountains, it's awesome.
Okay.
But this is another book on leading through crisis. We've had a crisis the last 2 or 3 years.
Yes.
And resilience.
Okay.
So that's
it's
something
a
I'm
good topic.
reading right now.
Good topic. Dan, what about you? Any book or Anything you can share with our listeners?
I don't really read that book that much because,
Well, with 19 grandchildren and 14 great-grandchildren, and talking to them every day, that's about all you got time for, isn't it?
But work, and then I have to take care of my husband because my husband's disabled.
Okay.
I mean, he's got disabilities.
Yeah, shout out to Willie Monico.
Okay.
He's one of our guys. He actually used to be our janitor in the program.
Okay.
And he's a New York Mets fan, so he's real sad right
And
now.
Oh, yeah,
New
the
York
Mets just got knocked out last
the
week,
Jets
didn't they?
and the Mets.
Now, Jets actually been playing pretty well, considering. I mean,
Everything in-
they've
and
And
had
he'll
some-
let you know.
They've had some futile years lately, but they just had a big
He'll
win.
let you know if something ain't right with
They had a big
with
win
his team.
this past weekend. So, Joe, back to you for this next question. Besides, again, remembering this is about Gaston County. So, besides the Hope in Christ organization, why would you say Gaston County is such a great place?
There are so many good people doing good things. Went to the chamber meet the candidates thing last night. Saw Todd and Shelton Davis. Saw Jesse Caldwell. Two good men wanting to do a good job. Shelton and I worked together at the hospital years ago.
Right.
The YMCA, the different nonprofits that y'all have really shown us. And we've got a good mayor and a good city council. We've got commissioners who want to do the right thing. We've got great police officers. I think that all these people and the teachers that we work with every week, they're good people, and that's what makes this community great. We've got a lot of things going against us. We've got,
Sure.
People who don't want to pay a penny more in taxes. We've got roads that need help. By the way, vote yes for the bond referendum. We've got a lot of things going on, but I think the secret is we've got a lot of good people who for years have done good work. Marshall Roush.
Oh, yeah.
I've gotten to know him since I've been here, and you could just go through the list. There are a lot of really good people. There's these brothers who have this company, and they do things to help their community.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that shout out. You're right. I've had the great pleasure on these last 66 episodes to really hear so many stories, to your point, and so many people that are doing such great work. So that one might be tough to follow, Diane. How would you answer that question? And why is Gaston County such a great place?
Everybody I met here is real nice. I mean, you always saying hey to you wherever you go. Like I met him 7 years ago when I met my
And your
husband.
life's never been the same since.
But it was her husband, not me, that did that.
I met my husband, then he introduced me to Joe.
Very good. Okay.
So
Yeah, I would agree. People, I mean, it's all about relationships and impact and what are you doing. So I appreciate that. So I'm going to ask you this next question first, Diane, so you don't have to follow Joe's answer. Looking back, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
to be yourself and to achieve what you can. And always put God first and let Him take care of control of everything in your life. Because if you ain't got God in your life, you not got much. God is the answer to everything.
That's pretty good. Follow that one.
Yeah, I got what she said. My 20-year-old self was at University of Alabama in Birmingham and headed for our school in Nashville, Trevecca, because God had placed a call on my life to be a pastor. And I would say, work a little harder and close your mouth a little more. But I'm thankful for what I've got.
Oh, sure.
And the people and the things that have been part of my life have made it better.
Well, again, I appreciate those answers. I like that question just because we've gotten so many good perspectives on 66 episodes from asking that last question. So I appreciate you sharing that. You never know when, an answer to that question a 20-year-old might hear the answer to that question.
So maybe, giving y'all a little planning time might be a day that you go back and you say, what did I learn from these 67 or 70
Yeah, we've
episodes?
actually, we've talked about that, and if we're lucky enough maybe to make it to 100, that we might do something like that on the 100th episode. I don't know how many we've got actually scheduled out, but yeah, that is something that we have actually talked about. Because again, a year and a half ago, I never would have imagined that we would make it to 66 episodes. So
But there's that many good things going on.
Oh yeah, and there are, and I mean, I'm pretty confident we'll make it to 100 episodes, and for some reason people are listening, and so as long as they continue to we have people willing to come on and talk about how great Gaston County is, we're gonna keep doing it. So, guys, this has really been good, and of course, remember the main focus here and point is to bring awareness to your organization. Maybe there's some volunteers out there. Some people who are willing to volunteer. Maybe you've got a parent out there that might hear this who says, wow, I do need some help. So where can our listeners go to learn more, get in contact with you guys, donate, just share anything and everything that you can?
Our website is GHIC, Gaston Hope in Christ, .us. It's all about us. And our phone number is 980-785-4442. Which is GHIC2, by the way.
Okay.
And we're available. The phone goes to the directors, so one of us either answers it or we'll get back to you. And then, pray for us.
Okay.
And do something to help somebody somewhere.
Do you have any social media presence at all?
Yes, we're on Facebook.
Okay.
I want to say, I think we're not great at social media. We have our webpage. We have Facebook.
That's all right.
I think we have an Instagram account, but I'm over 40, so it's not used as well as it could be.
I'm with you on that one. All right. So, again, I appreciate you guys sharing that. So any last, before we close this one out, any last words of wisdom or anything you'd like to share that maybe I missed or didn't give you an opportunity
to share? This has been better than I thought it would be. Thank y'all for what you do.
I'll take it as a compliment, I guess.
Well, you go in and you don't want to mess up and you don't want to flub up, but it really has been a good experience, I think. Yes. And we're thankful for what y'all do.
Well, good. Well, we appreciate it. And listen, we're grateful for organizations like yourselves because you are making an impact. It's obvious. And so, those are the things that are required. People with the boots on the ground, getting work done in the community. And especially when it's youth involved. Youth is something that we feel strongly about here at GSM. A lot of things that we're involved with, whether it's Gaston County Schools or the Boys and Girls Clubs or whatever it might be. Oftentimes it's something that's a youth initiative. So we really feel strongly about that because if you can make that impact and difference when they're younger, it can just lead to a much better path, into the future. So. We appreciate that, guys, and I appreciate you guys being on. And like I normally do, I'm going to finish out with my own either book or podcast recommendation and a quote to finish the episode off. And I'm going to recommend a podcast. As you guys, everybody, all the listeners know, I'm a big podcast listener, not just for this one, but a guy I follow a lot, a guy named Mike Rowe, who he's mostly known as the Dirty Jobs guy. But he wrote a great book that I recommended. Gosh, I think that was maybe episode 15 or 16 probably, but he also has a podcast by the same name called The Way I Heard It, and it's one I listen to every single week, and I would strongly recommend. In fact, I would recommend if you start listening to it, I would recommend going all the way back to the beginning and start there and get caught up over time. And my quote this week comes from Jim Rohn, Jim Rohn is probably one of the original personal development guys. He wrote a lot of good books, but he had a quote about personal responsibility, and he said, you must take personal responsibility. You cannot change the circumstances, the seasons, or the wind, but you can change yourself. So I don't know when I got involved with kind of personal development, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, but I read a lot about that. But Jim Rohn's a good guy to go look up and study, and he's got a lot of good quips like that one. So to our listeners out there, thanks so much for taking the time to listen to today's episode. Please continue to spread the word if you can about the podcast, and please don't hesitate to contact us here at our email address, which is podcast@gastonsgreat.com. We are always looking for suggestions for future podcast topics and guests. You can find the podcast and subscribe at the website, which is gastonsgreat.com, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And please follow us and share all our social media platforms. And according to Naomi, if we get a good 5-star rating, that helps us get noticed. Right, Naomi? All right. So
she knows more about that than we do, huh?
That is correct. She is the expert. Thanks again to Joe and Diane for being our guests today. Gaston's Great is produced and brought to you by Naomi Hunt and Amy Anderson from GSM Services and edited here locally by the Sumner Group. I'm your host, Stephen Long. Thanks again for hanging out with us, and please keep coming back to hear more reasons why Gaston's great.